Hi everyone, I'm Avdesh God. In this video, we'll explore about parameters in Tableau. We will start off with an initial understanding of parameters along with its multiple use cases in Tableau. Eventually, we will learn about how parameters make our visuals more user-friendly. Well, let's get started. Parameters in Tableau can be considered as a variable in an equation whose values can be set or controlled by the user to modify the results. We can use parameters with sets, filters, reference lines, etc. to enhance the user experience. To understand more about parameters, let us build a quick visual first. Let us bring the subcategories to the row shelf and profits to the column shelf. Let us set this to fill the entire view. Now suppose we want to highlight the top two subcategories having the highest profits. We can easily do that by creating a dynamic set. To do so, right-click on the subcategory field, go to Create and select Set. This will open up a Create Set dialog box for us. As we want to create a set of top two subcategories by profits, so let's go to the top tab over here. We will select the by field. Let's keep it as it is to top. We'll set the number to 2 and let us keep the calculating values or dimension to profits with an aggregation of sum. Let us rename this and set it as top 2. We will hit OK and close this. Tableau will create a set which is available in the data pane to be utilized. Let us drop this set onto the color shelf. As expected, based on the dynamic subcategories that falls into this set, Tableau has highlighted the top two subcategories having the highest profits. But what if we want the user to select whether the user want to see the top 2 or top 3 or even top 5 subcategories out of the current list based on the total profits made? We can easily do that using parameters. Parameters are indeed the switches or the variables that we can use with our Tableau functionalities to make our visuals more appealing. Let us build a parameter for the same. To do so, click on the drop-down available on the right-hand side of the search bar in the data pane and select Create Parameters. Tableau will open up a Create Parameter dialog box for us. We can set up multiple properties while creating a parameter. Starting off with, we can select the data type of the parameter that we are going to create. In this data type drop-down, we can select the parameter to be a floating value. It can even be an integer, a string, or a Boolean value. Last but not the least, we can even create a parameter having the values as either date or both date and time. Let us set this to integer based on our requirements so far. Then we have an option to set the current value. Let us set it to 2. After that, we have an option to set the current value as the default value for this parameter whenever the dashboard loads. We can also alter the display format as if required. At the very end, we have an option to set up the allowable values. We can either set it up to all values that can fall within the data type. Right now, if we set all, then the user can set any integer value for this parameter. As we are making a parameter to select the top n values, thus negative values or negative integers won't make much sense over here. So we will not go ahead with an all option. Then we have an option to provide a list of values, out of which the user can choose a value of this parameter. Let us go with this one. This will open up a list of values at the bottom, wherein we can input the values in the list based on which the user can make a selection. Let us enter the values from 1 to 5. As we move from all to list, the current value is again reset. We need to choose it again based on the values that we have entered in the list. Let us set it to again. Let us name this parameter as top n selector and hit OK. Tableau will create a parameter and it's available to be used out here in the data pane, categorized under parameters. To use this in the view, we need to show this first. To do so, right-click on the parameter and select Show Parameter. Let us try selecting the values of this top n selector and see if anything changes in the view. We have changed the value of top n selector to 5, but in the view, we can still see only top 2 values based on the total profits. Why so? Reason being, we have not yet created a relationship between this parameter and the set that we had created. Let us do it right now, so that by changing the parameter values in this top n selector, the values or the subcategories in the view shall change as well. To do so, right-click on the top 2 set and select Edit Set. This will open up an Edit Set dialog box for us. If you notice, over here in the drop-down, we have an option to set it up as a parameter that is a variable instead of a constant number. Let us select top n selector parameter that we have created just now. Hit OK to save the changes. If we notice, the view has changed as soon as we hit OK. In the right, the top n selector is set to 5, and that's why we can see 5 values highlighted in the view. That is, in the current top 2 set, we have 5 subcategories based on the sum of profits. So now we can say that the user has a capability to select the value of n out of top n subcategories based on profits. Let us try changing the value of this parameter and see if the view changes or not. Let us set it to 3. We expect that only 3 subcategories should be highlighted in the view, that is the top 3 subcategories, by the sum of profits. As soon as we do that, the changes in the view are visible. In the similar fashion, we can play around this parameter to see how it works. Not only this, we can also use the parameter with the filters and as well as in the calculated fields. Let us understand this with the help of a simple example. Suppose that we want to see only the subcategories having the profits above a specific threshold. Not only this, but we want the user to select this specific threshold. Let us quickly create an integer parameter for this, which can select all of the available values. To do so, select the drop-down and hit Create Parameter. Let's name this parameter as Threshold. As we want it to be an integer parameter, let us change the data type to integer. Let us keep the current value as it is. Over here, under the allowable values, we want the user to put any value based on the data type, that is integers. Let us hit OK. The parameter will be available in the view to be utilized. But before that, let us create a calculated field wherein we can put up the desired logic of showing up only those subcategories that are having the profits beyond the threshold that has been set up by the user. To do so, click on the drop-down and select Create Calculated Field. As we want the user to select the profits above a certain threshold, thus we can write a calculation such as sum of profits is greater than the threshold parameter. Let us name it the profits filter. If you notice, the output of this calculation will be true if the sum of profits is greater than the threshold, and otherwise it will be false. So the output in a nutshell is a Boolean expression that can either be true or false. Let us save this, and this calculation is available in the view to be utilized. Let us drop this onto the filter shelf. As we want to show only the profits that are greater than the threshold, so let us select true and hit OK. Let us also bring the threshold selector into the view. Right now, as we can see, the value of threshold is set to 1. So that's why we can see only those subcategories which are having profits greater than 1. Let us set up a negative value for this. This brings up all of the subcategories having the profit greater than the selected threshold value. If we bring it back to 0, then only the subcategories having the positive profits will be visible in the view. We can also set up some value beyond which we want to see the profits. Let us set it up to 20,000. Now, based on the same, only the subcategories having profits greater than 20,000 are available in the view. In this section, we learned about various types of filtering operations in Tableau. We got to know about what order of operation these filters follow and how to utilize the same in Tableau. You are now aware of how to perform sorting in Tableau. We got familiar with the formatting pane to modify the font size, style, the visual borders, the reference line formattings, etc. We learned about sets in quite some detail. We got to know how to create constant sets, dynamic sets, and even the combined sets in Tableau. You are now aware of how to use these sets as per the requirements. We explored various grouping options and its use cases in Tableau as well. And in this video, you got familiarized with parameters in Tableau, what they are, and how to use them in Tableau. In the next section, we will be mastering the calculations in Tableau.